As a quick message before I begin this part, I'm going to put a poll at the end of this video about where I should go with the series going forward, so please watch until the end before you vote on it. Anyway, let's get into it. It has now been 4 years since King Cold and the other heroes defeated Majin Buu. During this time, Goku was made by Chi-Chi to start working on a farm so that he would have an actual job. This time, however, it is a better source of income for his family since he can sell or trade his crops to people within the Cold Empire. However, far away in space, alarm bombs start to go off as it is time for the God of Destruction to wake up after his nap that lasted 39 years. After the God is awoken by these bombs and his attendant, they go to have breakfast, where Beerus ends up asking his attendant, Whis, if Frieza destroyed planet Vegeta like he asked him to. After Whis confirms it was, Beerus goes on to say that the next time he sees Frieza, he will erase him. However, Whis brings up to him that Frieza was defeated years ago by a Saiyan. After showing Beerus the battle through his staff, he mentions that other Saiyans are surviving in the universe too. He also mentions that Frieza's father, King Cold, has survived as well and has even changed over a new leaf. He has been helping the universe better itself, and he even ended up working alongside the Supreme Kais, which Whis would mention to him that he helped to get the other Supreme Kais resurrected. This would surprise Beerus at first, as he never thought someone like Cold would turn over a new leaf. Hearing about this new empire, and about the work he did with the Supreme Kais, would pique his interest. He's going to put that on the back burner for now though, as he is still trying to remember why he asked to be woke up at this time. In the meantime, he heads to a planet and ends up trying their food. Though, since it is too greasy for him, he destroys half of the planet by just tapping his finger on the table. Meanwhile, on Earth, Goten still wants to get Videl a wedding present, but he'd unfortunately have to give it to them late, since they are still off in space with the Galactic Patrol. Regardless, he still gets Trunks' help, within the time to get Videl the water from the hot spring. Normally, this is where Hercule would have his press conference where he was given money for defeating Buu. However, that wouldn't happen here, since he is no longer the world champion, and he didn't defeat Buu. It's likely that Android 18 went back and competed in the 26th World Martial Arts Tournament, with her becoming the champion again. These tournaments are easy for her, and she'd still want the money from winning them, so there isn't any reason for her not to compete in the tournament. Meanwhile, up in the sacred world of the Kai, all of the Supreme Kais and the Old Kai notice that yet another planet has been destroyed by the God of Destruction Beerus. Anyway, Goku would still teleport to King Kai's planet, with Chi-Chi being more willing to let him go, since they weren't struggling financially in this timeline. While he goes off to train there, Vegeta takes Trunks and Bulma on the family vacation he promised. However, he still eventually takes off to go training, since he still wants to try and surpass Goku. Back with Beerus and Whis, they end up going to planet Majina, since Beerus wanted to try Dinosaur Meat, though the Chief refuses to give up the dinosaur, which is when Beerus appears. Even once the Chief transforms, he stands no chance and is killed easily when Beerus destroys the planet, which the Supreme Kais and Old Kai notice immediately. While Beerus was watching the planet be destroyed, he remembered the name Super Saiyan God. Afterwards, back in the sacred world of the Kai, the Old Kai explains to Shin and Kibito who Beerus is, with him saying Goku can never meet Beerus. This is when King Kai gets in contact with them, saying that Goku is training on his planet currently. Then back on Beerus' planet, he and Whis go to see the Oracle Fish, since Whis was skeptical about their prophecy. Initially, they don't remember having given this prophecy, but when Beerus threatens to reduce how much they are fed, they remember telling him about the Super Saiyan God. Though, Beerus and Whis get ready to go to King Kai's planet, since that is where the closest Saiyan is. Back on Earth, everyone gets ready to head to Bulma's birthday party, which is on a cruise ship. While everyone gathers on the ship, Bulma ends up being annoyed that both Goku and Vegeta didn't show up. Though, King Cold managed to get time away from his empire for this, so he and Bonnie are at the party as well. Anyway, Goten and Trunks end up exploring the ship, where Trunks shows him the prizes for the Big No tournament, which includes the Dragon Balls. Also, since Gohan and Videl came back to Earth for the party, this is when Goten would give her the spring water as a wedding present. Anyway, on a nearby island, Pilaf, Mai, and Shu notice the Dragon Balls briefly on their radar, so they head towards the cruise ship, which they are led on board by Trunks and Goten, so they end up eating with them. Meanwhile, Vegeta's training at Capsule Corp is interrupted by Bulma calling him and telling him to get to the party now. Then back at King Kai's planet, King Kai hurries up and hides Goku, but he is almost too late, as Beerus and Whis arrive shortly after. After talking with King Kai for a minute, Beerus would call out to Goku, as he knows he is hiding there. When he asks about the Super Saiyan God, Goku has no idea what he is talking about, as he has only heard about the regular Super Saiyan forms. As usual, Goku respectfully challenges Beerus to a fight, and the God of Destruction agrees. he goes through his Super Saiyan forms too, with him eventually reaching Super Saiyan 3. He's still defeated by Beerus with a flick to the head and the chops to the neck, causing Goku to be knocked unconscious. From there, Beerus decides he'll go to Earth instead to ask Vegeta about the Super Saiyan God. At this time, Vegeta arrived on the cruise ship, so King Kai contacts him telepathically to tell him about Beerus coming to Earth. When he tells Vegeta about Beerus, he mentions that Goku was defeated in just 2 hits, which is a surprise to the Saiyan Prince. After arriving, Beerus approached Vegeta, which he recognized the god immediately from when he was a child, though when asked about the Super Saiyan God, Vegeta reveals he has never heard about it. Beerus and Whis are then introduced to Bulma, who then invites him to join the party, which, as usual, we get the scenes of Piccolo singing karaoke, Whis eating different foods, and Beerus breakdancing. Eventually, however, Beerus gets angry when Yamcha pats him roughly on the back when he is accidentally sprayed with water guns by Goten and Trunks, which, to calm the God of Destruction down, Vegeta would catch the octopus and cook it for him to try. Also, during the party, it's likely King Cold would have been working with Vegeta to keep Beerus calm, as he knows about the God of Destruction as well. Eventually, the Peel-Off gang steals the Dragon Ball and holds Trunks at gunpoint, which causes a drunken Gohan to think it is an act. However, when he asks Mai to shoot him, one bullet still hits Vidal's leg, and one still hits Beerus on the forehead. Dende goes to heal Vidal, which he notices she is pregnant, but she asks him to keep quiet about it. Regardless, Beerus was angry from this, so to distract him, Vegeta announces the bingo tournament, which, since Cold is trying to help Vegeta, we would get a scene of both Vegeta and Cold doing the bingo song and dance together. Anyway, after eating many of the different foods, we suggest that Beerus should try out pudding. However, without Boo being there, he gets a chance to try it, as the Majin isn't there to hog it all. So, the scene of all the heroes attacking Beerus to try and stop him from destroying the Earth never happens. This doesn't stop the God of Destruction from getting bored of the party eventually though, which, I still think he would announce something like if they can't get the Super Saiyan God to appear soon, he will destroy the Earth. Also, there's one potential difference to point out here, which could change how they learn about the Super Saiyan God. The Namekians have been part of King Cold's empire for a while now, so eventually they might have shared their knowledge with him from the Namekian Book of Legends. Now, he already heard some of the legend about the Super Saiyan God, but he didn't hear enough to know how it was obtained. However, the book the Namekians had most likely does mention how the form was able to be obtained, so he would quickly explain this to Beerus, which the god would allow him to go to Namek to find out for sure. Meanwhile, Goku would teleport back to the Earth since his plan was to summon Shenron to wish to find out how the Super Saiyan God is obtained, though he is quickly filled in on King Cold's plan, so they wait for him to return. So, once Cold arrived on Namek, he would have explained everything that was happening to them and asked about the Namekian Book of Legends. They would gladly help Cold find the information he's looking for, and once he does, he returns to the Earth and tells everyone what they need to do. As always, they are told that they need 5 Saiyans that are pure of heart to put their power into another Saiyan, which will cause them to become the Super Saiyan God. So, the first time they try the ritual, Gohan, Goten, Trunks, and Vegeta pour their Super Saiyan energy into Goku, which, the ritual fails, and Whis points out where they went wrong. They are 1 Saiyan short. Since Cold thought it was too early to introduce Paragus and Broly to them, as Paragus is still semi-set on the whole revenge thing, they aren't there with him. So, Videl still ends up revealing that she is pregnant with Gohan's child, so they might work as a 6th Saiyan. This time, with Videl participating in the ritual, it works and Goku ascends to the level of a Super Saiyan God, which, there isn't much of a reason for me to go into detail about the Beerus and Goku fight, as nothing would really change about it. It would still last for a while, with him eventually going above the Earth to fight. However, Goku would eventually fall out of the Super Saiyan God form and fall back down to the Earth. As Beerus follows him to the Earth and lands on the ship, he still threatens to keep his promise of destroying the Earth. However, he just destroys a rock on a nearby island and says he was out of stamina, but he did destroy the Earth by doing that. Beerus and Whis then return to their planet, where Beerus still tries the food with wasabi on it. He still goes into his rampage though, but Whis easily stops him with a karate chop. From there, Beerus tells Whis to wake him up in 3 years, as he wants to take a nap. Though, before he can go to bed, Whis reminds him that he should brush his teeth first. Anyway, back on the Earth, Bulma's birthday party starts again, with Vegeta angrily swearing that he will become the next God of Destruction. Though, instead of Goku mocking Vegeta for his rage moment, since that didn't happen, he jokingly mocks him about his bingo song and dance. So, Piccolo angrily points out that he was just watching the whole time, which causes Oolong to jump on Goku for risking their lives like that. However, he explains that he did it because he was trying to come up with a plan to stop Goku. Though, Vegeta still convinces Bulma to slap Goku for what he did, which he does with pleasure. Though, Back with Beerus, before he brushes his teeth like Whis was making him, he wanted to check on something first. When imagining this scene, I would see it like a post-credits sequence as it was in the Battle of the Gods movie. Anyway, he decides to go and pay King Cold a visit, as the Monarch and Banyu both teleported back to their ship after Bulma's birthday party had ended. While at the party, Beerus had talked to the Earthlings about Cold, as his new and improved empire piqued his interest. As he and Whis arrive, this would scare King Cold senseless, which would cause Banyu to act cordial too after she sees how Cold is acting. When talking to Cold, he would mainly want to know what this whole empire is about, which is when Cold says it is based upon both trade and tourism, though he would also say he started helping the Supreme Kaizen better developing planets to support more advanced life. Beerus would likely talk about the food he had on Earth and different cuisines from around the universe, which this would get Cold thinking big, as he has an idea he might try to propose to Beerus. He would mention that since his empire is partially built on tourism, the cultures and cuisines of different species is a major part of his empire, so he would offer to set up a food-based tour for Beerus and Whis of his empire, if they would wish to do so, and they could do tours like this whenever they want to. However, Cold also might try to press his luck with Beerus and propose a type of deal with the God of Destruction. After all, he and his family used to work for the Destroyer God by destroying planets when he needed to. However, even though destroying planets is something he doesn't do anymore, he tries to propose a deal that both Beerus and Whis could train him. In exchange, he would provide them exotic foods from around the universe, and he would continue to develop planets with the Supreme Kai to improve their universe, which, since Beerus takes year-long naps, and sometimes even decades-long naps, this would be appealing to the God of Destruction. Not only does it make his job easier, but he also gets exotic foods from around the universe, and all he must do is train Cold. It shouldn't be that hard of a thing to do, so it seems like a win-win to the God of Destruction. So, Beerus starts to talk over the details of this arrangement, so they can decide how it would work if Beerus agreed. Mainly, anytime Cold showed up to train, he would bring food to both Beerus and Whis in exchange for them training him. This would mean going through Beerus' training though, not just having Whis train him. When Beerus asks if he is trying to replace him as the God of Destruction, Cold would say he isn't. He just sees this as a win for both sides. It makes Beerus' job easier, while Cold can also get stronger and learn how to better improve the universe, and by extension his empire and the planets within it, through the training he does with the God of Destruction and his angel attendant. So, since this would make their job easier, and the sound of having exotic foods is tempting, Beerus and Whis would agree to this deal, with Cold and Beerus shaking hands to seal the deal. After the deal is finished, Beerus goes back to his plan to nap, but Whis still makes him brush his teeth before he goes to sleep. Anyway, if this was in the Battle of the Gods movie like I imagined it, this is where the post-credits scene would end, as the screen fades to black. However, before ending this video, this is where I wanted to mention the poll I will have in the comments down below. Please make sure to vote on it, so I know how to go forward with this series. The question of the poll is going to be if I should make up fan-made forms that Cold could get from his godly training, or should I just follow what we see in the anime and manga, such as Golden Frieza or Black Frieza. I can't wait to see how the poll ends up, as I think either option could be interesting for the way this story will go.